Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Matters. My name is Dayal. I'm here with my co-host Kishore Chandra and our good friend and soul sister Acyuta. This is our first episode of Spirit Matters, which is a brand new Bhakti Center podcast. And it's just an opportunity for us. We wanted to get online and connect with our community, share our thoughts, our realizations, ask questions, hear from you. This is an interactive podcast. So we have a live audience right now with us tuning in on our Rise platform, which is our community network here at the Bhakti Center. And for those of us on our Rise network, you can carry the conversation forward after each episode with your comments, questions, sharings, etc. on our platform. If you're not on Rise, we're going to invite you to do so. Please get on it so you can be part of the conversation with us. And I'm just happy to be here with both of these two beautiful souls. How you doing, Kishore and Chuta?
I'm doing great. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about spiritual things with you.
That's what it's for.
Same. I'm doing really well. I'm better now that you gave us your radio voice, Dale.
Welcome to Spirit Matters. My name is Dayal Garunga, and I am tuning in live from the studio audience. Here are my two friends. Take it away, Acyuta. And so you were one of the first people I thought of that I said, I got to get on there and have more. I was already thinking I need to have more conversations with Acyuta. I'll be honest with you. Every time I would see you like doing like a Instagram live or a podcast with somebody else, I'm like, she should be doing that with me. Like, how is she talking to other people? Like, I need to have another conversation with Acyuta. And so we thought this podcast, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to have extended guests, not just for one time. And so we're going to have Acyuta for the entire week. This podcast goes Monday through Friday. And so it also leaves an opportunity if people have questions to ask questions, to pick up on themes, carry it forward. And when I asked you what you thought would be a great topic, you shared something kind of really beautiful in relation to the new year and kind of new beginnings, new sharings, new turning, starting off a new chapter of our lives. And you said something really beautiful that I wanted to kind of invite you to set the tone of what we can talk about today.
Sure. So this is like, beginnings of faith. Usually we have our spiritual practice or our sadhana, as it's called, and it's kind of heavily guarded and we keep it private and it's a very internal, intimate affair. But I think the three of us have kind of made it very public and really opened ourselves up, good and bad, to everybody getting in touch with what our spiritual journey looks like, being able to be on that journey with all of us. And so I kind of wanted to just talk about what sparks that switch, not just what inspires you to embark on a lifelong spiritual journey, but what actually inspires the switch to say, okay, this is something that's just for me and I don't have to explain it to anybody. And that's the easiest way to do it. But now we're going to open it up for criticism, comments, but also wonderful moments of inspiration.
Yeah.
So I kind of just wanted to hear from all of you, myself included, about what sparks that.
Yeah. Her name is Bhakti Brene Brown. Started a revolution.
It's true.
Yeah. Kishore, you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. I really like everything that you just said, Acyuta, and this idea of, at the very beginning of our spiritual lives, perhaps, this kind of guardedness or this need to kind of just go internal and work on ourselves and keep our sadhana secret, be very, very private about these kinds of things. And in regards to it kind of going public or just the vulnerability of sharing, I think it's really interesting because I've personally, I have a lot to say about this, but I'll try to keep it concise. I've personally always kind of struggled a little bit with that, honestly. Like personally, sometimes I'm just like, I just want to be alone. I just want to be alone and do my sadhana, and I don't want to share anything with anyone. I don't want to be the teacher. I don't want to do that. I just want to like go away. Doyle knows me very well. Just hop on a plane, disappear, and that's it, folks. Maybe you'll find me on a Harinam somewhere.
He's getting on a plane this Thursday.
I am getting on a plane this Thursday. But something I thought was super fascinating, and it's always very re-inspiring to me, is that really like our higher power, divinity, is always asking something from us. And the only really thing that I've noticed that he's asking for is our sincerity and our genuineness and our love. And that love, I find, is not practiced. And, we can really say, in a sense, bhakti yoga, right? This love is not practiced in a silo. It's not practiced in a dark room by myself, just completely shut off from the world. It's practiced in community. It's practiced with others. And when you speak to others, things come up and questions come up, and there's conversations and people will ask you things. And I thought something that was really nice. I was in a retreat yesterday, a one-day retreat that we did at the Bhakti Center with Janavi and her dad, Kripamoya Prabhu. And actually, someone asked a very interesting question, and it was similar, and I just thought it would be nice to share about this. He was such a sincere soul, and his name was Rama, and he was just one of those people that was like helping right from the get-go. He was just like there, And during Q&A, he asked this question of just like how he works in the prison system and how he wants to share. Like, he feels like he has this knowledge. He's been trained in it. It's helped his life so much. It's helped the lives of so many others around him. And he like really wants to share, right? He wants to share, but at the same time, he doesn't want to come off as preachy, or he doesn't want to come off as judgmental, or he doesn't want to come off as like, I know something that you don't. And, your life is in tatters because you don't have this knowledge that I do. So, like this. And so he was asking Kripamoya Prabhu, like, how do I share this knowledge in a way that is authentic and in a way that is vulnerable and authentic? And so when you sent that message today, Acyuta, about this is the topic we should talk about, I was like, yes, it's all written in the stars. This is exactly what we should talk about. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful answer. And I'll keep it succinct. And basically the answer was, in a very short way, the answer was, if someone asks you a question, someone is approaching you always in some sort of way, as a friend, as a confidant, trying to seek advice from you, or something, as a student trying to seek like this from you. And we should just meet them where they're at, and we shouldn't give anything else. And we shouldn't give anything less. We should just meet them where they're at. And something that I really appreciated, and I'm rambling, so I'll stop here, about the Bhakti Center and the mood of the Bhakti Center in general, and all of you, is that that's always kind of the mood. It's like, I'm just going to meet you where you're at. Wherever you are, I'm going to show up as authentically as I possibly can and meet you where you're at. I'm not going to try to like preach at you. I'm not going to try to like throw stuff at you. And so that understanding has really helped me in my life as well, where it's like, okay, I'm not trying to like be something that I'm not. I'm just going to be myself in my spiritual journey, and I'm just going to meet other people where they're at and see where it goes from there. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you to share more on that, Acyuta, because especially, I mean, Kishore and I, we've come into Krishna consciousness or a spiritual path at some point in our life, but you've been living this your entire life since within the womb. And so I think you've kind of it's woven into who you are in such a big way. And I'm curious for you, what has sparked? Because I've you and I had a one-on-one podcast interview a while ago on another platform, and we talked a little bit about this. And I've also just since I've been living in New York about, I don't know, it's like 14 years now or so, and I've seen you since I've lived here, but only recently getting to know you a little bit. And I've seen that transformation in you. I've seen, especially even just recently on your social media, I've just seen you more. I mean, you've always been this very deep practicing spiritualist, but I've seen you just very recently kind of really just opening up and blossoming in this beautiful way of just really authentically sharing. And so what's your inspiration and thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, Kishore just gave like a red table talk answer if I ever heard one. So, firstly, um, to be completely honest, bhakti is something that, yes, since before I was born, I was doing. The sharing of it was absolutely not what I was doing. I was actually really shy for most of my life. And then even within leading kirtan, I'd lead kirtan, and then after that, I was kind of shy. Just I think that we all you can kind of feel the vibe of a person. Like we all chose a teacher who would go off and meditate in caves in solitary, like in complete solitude, living off of carrots only. So I think we all have that yearning to kind of step back and just say, you know what, I think I don't know if I want to be everybody's go-to. I think I just want to step back and kind of refill my own cup. But actually, I was reading Mother Jamuna's biography several years ago, and I remember thinking, okay, for this bhakti thing to really work, I think I want to be more authentic. Like, I think I want to live more from the heart. And I remember journaling about it, and I remember not knowing what that meant at all, but just putting it out there saying, okay, Krishna, I'm I'm gonna be more open. I'm gonna be more authentic. I'm gonna live this thing really from the heart, flaws and all, whatever that means. And I still, even with social media accounts, I still feel like it was really, really guarded. And I think what really sparked this like fast track trajectory was it was kind of you, Doyle. Like, middle of a pandemic, Doyle says, "Hey, do you want to give a class?"
I remember
And
that.
see, yeah, and something to know about me: if I have the ability to say yes, I will usually just say yes, especially if it comes to like a service or something Krishna related. Like, those are the things, like when I decided, okay, I'm going to really kind of be authentic and live more from the heart, I also decided that I was going to try and say yes to as many opportunities as I could. Um, my sister is always the one cautioning me, like, "Wait, maybe we should think about it first." Because I'm always like, yes. And then I'm like,
Remember
how am I going to make that
boundaries,
happen?
Acyuta? Boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm always like, how's that gonna work? And I've kind of put it up to, well, Krishna's gonna make it happen. So you asked, I said yes, and then I was like, how's that gonna work? But it has been working for 2 years consistently.
It's been working well.
So yeah, having a community at your back that will see the potential, even if you don't, that will be willing to be instruments of grace, even if you think you're not capable, whatever it is, having that community of people to push you and say, hey, you think you want to try this? What do you think
Mm.
about this? And then having that kind of, I don't like roller coasters, but in life, I'm like, yeah. So that to me is the equivalent of the roller coaster. It's like it's a service attitude in the mind. You're like, hey, you want to try this? I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Mm. I love that attitude. Is there a time where you felt you made a mistake? Like you shared something or you thought like I'm being too vulnerable or too real, I got to reel it back, or you've doubted yourself, or like I'm just going to go back into a cave, or I'm going to pull up my carrots and go into a cave and just kind of, is there a time where you ever felt like that, or do you feel like that like on often, and what is that like and how do you deal with it?
Every single day. I'm a chronic overthinker. So every day, at least 5 times a day, I will rethink whatever I've posted. Like, oh, why did I do that? It was a really bad idea. And then I literally have to keep reminding myself, I'm like, okay, Krishna said, do your duty, be detached from the results. And I can only imagine that this is what this means in my sphere of living. I've done my duty. My duty is to just, like you said, Kishore, just be me, meet people where they're at, because that's exactly what Krishna does, right? He's like, I'm just going to meet you where you're at and reciprocate. And I've kind of taken that, like, okay, maybe that's me doing my duty. And now I have to let go and trust that Krishna's going to arrange for it to meet the people it needs to meet.
Yeah, I love that you said that range for people to meet, needs to meet, because Jamuna Jai just mentioned this in the chat here. She said, because you shared your thought years ago for a yoga teacher training I took at Yoga Maya. That's Yoga Maya. I mean, must have been years ago. At the Brooklyn Temple really helped start my path. You defined bhakti in a way I still refer to even today. So I'm glad you are sharing more. And this was before I asked you to give class couple during the pandemic. And so I think it's so powerful that we don't always know who we are affecting. And I think that in a world where it's almost kind of like, I mean, we know we live in an age of social media where it's like we judge everything according to like even I put out content. I'm like, I don't know this is good until 30 minutes later when I see how it's been responded to, you know. Like a lot of people liked it. Oh, that was a pretty good post. Nobody liked it. Oh, that wasn't very deep or insightful. You know, like we judge it based off of like the feedback we get. But I think that part of that vulnerable journey is being able to, and it's almost kind of like the way that Krishna defines yoga in the Gita, that idea of simply acting as a matter of duty, regardless of success or failure, and regardless of who we, because it's almost like Krishna's just telling Arjuna, I'm going to use you. Like, just trust me. It may not be in exactly the same way you think it needs to be used, or it may not get the exact same result you think it needs to gain. But there are particular outcomes that I'm guiding that I just need you to kind of like go along with. And I remember one time, this was, I speak a lot now, but there was a time when I really never gave class. And it's only been recently, like a few years ago. And I remember I was visiting, I may have still been, I think I was still a brahmachari, and I was visiting California, like my hometown, and I was visiting the Laguna Beach Temple where I initially joined in the ashram. And I was asked to give class, and I was just like terrified. I didn't want to, but it was like, you have to come back, you're visiting. And I was just like terrified. I remember just thinking in front of the altar there, and I was just thinking, you know what, I was like, what if I just bomb it or et cetera? And I was like, you know what, if I just make a fool of myself and then people, and they just like are entertained by my foolishness, that's my service. Let them just be entertained by that, you know, like it's not about me. And I remember just kind of like letting that go. And I don't remember how the class went. Either it went really well or so terrible I blocked it from my memory. But I just remember thinking like, wow, like just not making it about me and just kind of like whatever. And you still get like, you just like Jamuna just said so beautifully, you know, somebody came up and somebody come up and like you don't know how much of an impact that had on me, you know. And I think it's just getting a little detached from those results in a way that allows us to move forward. And I think that also the initial question you asked about like where is this coming from, I also think it's very interesting about how it's related to the age we live in, like an age of information. Like you can Google anything. Like if I just want to know, like if I'm going to bring somebody, let's talk about blah blah blah. You know, we're going to talk about a topic. It's kind of like I can learn about that topic anywhere. I can Google search a million talks or whatever and learn about that. But I don't know what that means to you specifically. And we tell this to people in our yoga teacher trainings we've just been teaching, because I'm like, you guys are teachers now, or you're aspiring to be teachers. And when you teach, people just want information. They can get that anywhere, but they want your particular realization. Like, how does it intersect with your life? Because I'm going to be trying to intersect this into my life. And so when I hear your stories of what it means for you, and therefore what you have is actually something that nobody else can give, because we think, what do I have to give? What do I have to say that's not, what was it? I quoted, I think it was the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love. There's nothing you can say that can't be said. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Like everything's already done. It's like, well, no, but what are you going to create and where does it affect in your life? And then the simplest things become really, really powerful.
And I think that that's a great metaphor for all of bhakti. You know, Krishna's got everything. God, no matter what you call him, her, all of them, all of the above, like they've got everything. You know, they've given you the voice, they've given you the knowledge, they've given you all that stuff. God doesn't care. Doesn't care
Mm,
how many times you can like reason out or how much logic you know or how much grammar you know or any of that. Like what matters is that heartfelt intention, that heartfelt offering. And that's something that God never gets like tired of, is never too satiated with. I
mm,
remember one of my awesome kirtan gurus, Ayendra, he was saying that he always kind of wondered, like, what would happen, you know, if I made a garland? What if I'm standing on a long line of people who also made garlands, like just trying to like offer this little garland to this supreme person? Isn't God going to get tired of all these garlands? And then he said he realized, he said, but the thing about Krishna is he's so unlimited that he's able to accept every single offering from every single heart, never get tired, and reciprocate with every person
Mm.
as if it's the very first one. And
Wow.
everybody feels as though it's the very first one. So I think those are the things that keep me coming back, especially when I get really mental about it. And like you said, I'm like, well, no matter what I've said, no matter what verse this is, a million people have spoken about this verse. My own spiritual teacher has spoken about this verse. And I'm like, who am I? Who am I? I'm Krishna's friend.
And you can butt in anytime, Kishore, if I don't want to take over, but I just had a question. What does overthinking look like for you? You said you're a chronic overthinker. Don't overthink it.
um, so when they do palmistry, when they look at like the lines on your palm and stuff, there's a way, like the more lines that you have on your palms, the more you think. And my hands are covered with all of these like extra lines everywhere. So anybody who ever looks at my palm, I'm like, wow, you worry a lot. I'm like, about everything at all times. It's a little tiring sometimes. And the way I've kind of gotten through that, because really what it looks like is it's this constant in the back of your mind. Well, what do you think that was? I'm like, well, I mean, it has been 30 minutes. Is that enough interaction? Because I mean, yesterday the interaction was higher. And I mean, tomorrow the interaction might not be as high. But if I say that, then what does that mean for everybody else? But then if I said this one thing, what if I left out somebody over there? Oh man, I think I did leave out somebody. Man, I think I should go redo that whole post so that I don't leave anybody out. But I can't put everybody in this post. Like Instagram only gives you, this is what it looks like. It's this constant dialogue. And I think really having a handle on understanding that me and that dialogue are different entities. I've had to really sit and remind myself every day that me and my mind are different. And I've done journals and stories and different poems and scenarios where now me and my mind really are different people. We'll have interactions and conversations, but we're different. And I've had to make that distinction because my mind doesn't turn off. And so I've had to remind myself, that's not you. That's not you. We are still anchored to something way better than all of the fear and the anxiety and the worries and all the stuff that the mind says, you shouldn't do this. And I'll give you a million reasons why. And instead, hopefully, ruling over the mind with my intelligence and my super soul, we can say, yeah, but I'll give you even more reasons why you should do it. Over and above all the million fearful reasons that you have to backtrack and go hide back in your cave, here's one really good reason why you should come back out. And it's simple things like Jamunajaya saying, like, this started a path. I'm like, okay, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
As much as we say, like, I'm not here to get famous or anything. Okay, that would be nice. But really, what it's all about is having that one person who says, you know what, you helped me. I was walking a tight line. I was fine line. I was on the brink of, it could have been life or death at any moment. But you helped me choose life. And that's huge.
Yeah. There's a lot I want to ask and say that, but Kishore, I want to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm very I'm still kind of in this space of just receiving lots of beautiful knowledge yesterday from Jahnavi's dad. He's a really, really wonderful person and has so much to give. And I was kind of struck. I feel like I haven't been around someone like that in a long time. And when you're in the association of someone like that, of someone senior, a sadhu, someone who has all this knowledge, it's really powerful. And I was having this moment yesterday where I was like sitting there, and I am also a chronic overthinker, like really bad, like leaving my house and just like, I turn everything off, is everything like this, And so I was having this moment of resistance, and I really like how Acyuta pointed out the mind, and understanding that the mind is a tool and the mind is part of the material, complex that we reside in. It's not who we are. However, like, we can know that on a knowledge level, or we can know that on a logical level, but actually realizing that from a day-to-day basis is like, this is very difficult. But anyway, I just had this moment, and these moments happen in kirtan. They've happened to me in your kirtans, Acyuta, where it's just like that moment where the mind is just it's so intense, and then you realize you're in the presence of something really, really amazing and really beautiful and really great and really spiritual, and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna like let go of all of it. Whatever's going on up there, I'm just gonna let go and be in the presence of this energy of Krishna running through everything. And I really like to think that because in this journey, I really liked how we started talking about social media and all this stuff. In this journey, something I like to think about social media, we talk about the algorithm a lot. It's like the algorithm.
It all goes back to social media and the algorithm. We're in the algorithm.
I really like to think sometimes, like, what? Like, isn't Krishna also the algorithm? Like, isn't he also putting in my path whoever is meant to be in my path on this social media? And isn't he also creating whoever created this algorithm? And hasn't he also created, all of this whole construct? So whatever it is, because sometimes I get so mental like that too. Oh, should I put that word, and should I put this, and should I put this, and whatever? And it's like, what? Krishna is going to bring to my life whoever is meant to come, and he's going to place me in front of those great teachers, and I'm going to be able to receive the knowledge from them. And if someone is placed in my path, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. And I think that also really inspires me, because I think when someone is placed in my path and I want to run away, it's like, no. Like, Krishna actually put this person in my path for a very good reason, and I'm going to try to show up, and it's not about me. And I think that's really important, because what I heard from you, Acyuta, it's really about, you said this earlier on, and I really loved it. It's like, when it's something about service, or when someone asks me, I just say yes, And I think that that's really beautiful. Even though, you have your sister, I also have my person who's just like, why did you say yes? Like, I was over at Doyal's yesterday, and his wife was like, tell him to stop saying yes. Like, just rein him in. If we can't say yes.
She's like, it affects me too.
But at the same time, I think it's really, really beautiful to know that, I'll end with this, that Jahnavi's dad, Kripamoya Prabhu, was saying, like, when our inspiration and when our energy comes from something greater than just our mind and our own egotistical kind of, imaginings, when it comes from like deep source, when it comes from Krishna, then we can serve tirelessly, actually. Like, we can just keep on going forever and ever and ever and ever. And I feel like whenever we're tired or want to run back into the hole, or at least I can speak for myself, when I'm tired, when I want to run back into the hole, I realize that I'm not actually connected to my higher power. I'm just in my mind. I'm just like, oh, I gotta show off or show up or this or the algorithm or whatever. It's not really about service. It's not really about Krishna. And so bringing it back to that place, I loved this idea of just like, yeah, let me say yes for service. Let me show up. Yeah, I love that, Acyuta. You're always so inspiring to me.
Wait, okay, see, so exactly what you said, right? Okay, because I have to. So, Doyle, your first post of the 100-day Let Go and Let God, right? May what I've been given that is of value never leave me. May what doesn't serve me fly away. And may I trust that what is here is exactly what I need to come closer to myself and you. It's perfect.
And what's the verse from Bhagavatam that inspired that?
Actually, I think that was from a quote from Srila Prabhupada.
No, it was a verse. I looked it up.
Was it?
You mentioned it. It was the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Was it? No, it was a quote from it was from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. 10th canto, chapter 80, verse 42.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, you wrote it, so.
Well, I only know because you referenced it and I looked it up ahead of time. This is Sandipan Muni, Krishna's guru, speaking to him, and was it Sudama? Or no, Sudama Brahman as a child? Yeah? Oh, you're nodding your head. I couldn't see
Yeah.
this. I was looking at the screen. you, you boys are first-class Brahmins, and I am satisfied with you. So they please the teacher. May all your desires be fulfilled, and may the Vedic mantras you have learned never lose their meaning for you in this world or the next. And we're closing out our time here today, so maybe we can pick up more on that. But I think that it also it there's the teachings themselves, and then there's what they mean to me. Like in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentions that this Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of Vedic literatures that's become even more sweet because it's been pierced or touched, comes through the lips of Shukadev Goswami, who spoke it. And an analogy given often is like a mango. And I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently if a mango is pierced by the beak of a parrot, it becomes even more sweeter due to that piercing of the beak. The parrot's beak increases the sweetness. And so similarly, when we as spiritualists, when spiritual information flows through us, and not that we distort it, because sometimes we got to think, okay, I got to get some new deep meaning to this, or we don't distort it because the teaching itself is so profound, but we just kind of like, this is what this means for me in my life. It kind of it enriches in a certain way. And I think that that's what people are looking for so much. And so we could pick up on that also. And the other thing that came to my mind, I'm just as a pickup tomorrow, is this idea that when we realize that we're not alone. And so because we're all living in caves, we're all sitting there in anxiety on our couch, scrolling through social media, being like, when is it going to go away? I'm so terrible. And then we realize like, oh, when we think we're the lowest piece of garbage on the earth, it's hard to get out of that. But when we realize like, oh, somebody else, woke up late or struggled or got in an argument with somebody or failed or whatever, it's like, oh, I don't feel so bad. It's not the feeling, it's not the being behind that feels so terrible. It's the feeling like I'm the only one behind that really struggles. And so some of the beautiful takeaways here we had, Jamuna said, me and my mind are two different things. She loved that. Sydney wrote, my mind being separate from myself, true self, really helped me see some things. She's an overthinker too. You're in the club. You're not alone. And so it's been very enlightening. Thank you. Beautiful. Well, we love you guys so, so much. We're going to continue this conversation all week long. If you're tuning in live, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, same place. And if you're listening to us, thank you for being here. And please make sure that you tune in for session 2. Any closing words or thoughts from Kishore or Acyuta? Anything you want to say before we drop off for today?
I'm just so grateful. I feel like we could keep on talking forever.
We will tomorrow.
I know, same. I know. I felt like I'll be here all week.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, and other than that, I'm so grateful that this is one of those things that I just said yes to. And even still, my sister was like, all week you're going to be on a podcast? I was like, look, I already said yes. And I was like, yeah, it'll be fine.
Everyone else was like, I don't know if I can commit for the week. A week is kind of a long time to commit to. She was like, I'll be there the whole week. I was like, yeah. All right, guys. Love you so much. We'll see you again soon. We'll be right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.